let's start this off the right way. Yeah. So Martin, I'm going to let you give you the mic.
Well, thank you everybody for coming. I hope you're all having a fantastic UK Pinfest this year. I think you'll agree, an amazing selection of games and plenty of newer games and a big selection of American Pinball games, of course, which is why we're here, with David Fix, the Executive Vice President of American Pinball. And you've been there since 2020, December 7th, in fact, I believe. Yes, a day that lives in infamy in many ways. Yeah. So what we're going to do is kind of have a little bit of history about David's involvement in pinball and coin-op in general. I'll ask him a few questions and then I'll throw it open to you. You can ask him anything you like practically about pinball, but not necessarily. To talk about other aspects of your life as well.
Sure.
I don't know if you want to sit down or you want to stand up.
Well, I could start with, I'll stand.
Okay, we'll stand. Right. So your coin-op involvement started when you joined ICE, Individual Concepts in Entertainment.
Yeah.
It rolls off the tongue, and you can see why they call it ICE.
Well, we can throw it up on the screen so we can.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what we're talking about.
So ICE is a major manufacturer of coin-op equipment, based in New York State, up near Buffalo. And while you were there, you were the tech room manager initially, and then moved on to doing other work. Perhaps you can tell us about what it was you did at ICE, and how that then led you into your position at American.
So at ICE, I started off as the tech room manager. Before ICE, I worked for a major arcade, or FEC, that we know as Dave & Buster's. I was a senior tech, and they flew me out to different cities, and I worked on some games. Integrated a new card swipe system and so forth. But at ICE, they asked me to come over and run the tech room management department. From there, I took over the SMT department. On top of that, I also took over the wiring harness Schlesinger machine, which is a gigantic $500,000 machine that could literally strip wires and make wire harnesses within seconds. Literally seconds. We would have an entire run of a game probably in about a half an hour, which was pretty cool. At ICE, there was about a half mile to a mile of wiring in each game. Okay, so we have a couple floating here. This is just their website. These games I did not work on or consult with. I did work on this guy here. This is our claim to fame. They started making it in '83, which is the bubble hockey. And then, of course, they now have the home versions. During COVID, that's when everything kind of shook down at ICE. I'll give you a brief thing. In February of 2020, we brought a game that I worked on called Monopoly Roll and Go. Worked on it with the team. I'm not the lead guy, but I worked on it with the team. It was a giant dice. You spun it, and the screen spun, and you had to land it on the different spots of Monopoly, and you doubled up in a big marquee across. The trade show we were at, we walked away with, I think, $2 to $3 million in contracts for this game. And that was as of February, the end of February of 2020. We had a meeting with management in March. We were going to go from 350 to 400 in the employment. On March 21st, COVID shut us down. We went from that 380 something to 160 employees. It's big kick out of the sales. Everything got pushed off, orders got canceled, and those 160 stayed home for the next 90 days because New York State shut us off completely. On June of that year, I got a phone call, and they said they had to make some hard decisions. And I said, I'll make some decisions for you because it's just me and my wife. We're doing okay. I would rather you keep some people on that maybe have children through this time. They thanked me, and they called me back a week later and said, we're going to furlough you, but you're still part of the family. Now, back in 2017, just jumping back a little bit, there was this little company called American Pinball, and they were starting off with this thing called Houdini. And I consulted with them, and I was running Pinball Expo. I was helping Expo all the time, and I got Houdini into a special room for their presentation to show everything. And I dealt with the ownership of American at that time. And I dealt with them subsequently for Oktoberfest and then also started talking to them a little bit about Hot Wheels. So they knew me. They knew my pedigree. They knew where I came from. So it just led to prove that by August, they started talking to me about coming over and working for American. And right after Virtual Expo, they wanted me to come over, and Mukesh Vasani basically said it two ways. He was the silent partner at the time. He said, I either am going to shut down the company and pull the plug and it's gone, bankrupted, or you come in and take over and rebuild the entire company. And on December 7th, as Martin pointed out, I took over as operations and marketing at American Pinball. And by January, we had already let go of the president of the company, and I had already moved myself in to start rebuilding the entire company. So it's a lot of work, right? How do you rebuild a pinball company? Well, you go out and get good people, and you do a lot of fun, right? So ICE, as family, they still talk to me today. I still go out and they invite me to the factory. I go out to lunch, and they considered me as family. In fact, when I told them I took a job at American, they were happy for me and said, if anything ever goes bad, I always have family to go home to, and I always have a chance to go back to ICE. So, great company to work for, been in the industry for many years, and their standards, okay, was the first thing that I wanted to bring to American. Their standards of a machine is we support it for its lifetime. In fact, that bubble hockey you see there is from 1983, and they still support the 1983 version of that bubble hockey. I don't know many people that still support games from 1983 that they manufacture. They continue to help people in the industry as much. They had standards that we worked on, and I helped with that. One of them was, of course, starting up a video support, which was that you can go to any of our YouTube pages on how to fix an ICE game, and made it very easy for people to understand. And in fact, we started talking about integrating it into the display on the games so that they can go through certain ways of fixing things. All of this is stuff that I'm bringing to American in the future. Okay, we already have a YouTube channel. It's through our support that has all the common topics. We continue to bring out new stuff. We're trying to do that with some of the newer equipment that we have. But we also have advanced replacement, right, at the company. So if you're an operator, do we have any operators in the room? People who put machines out on location to support? No operators. Okay. Maybe by the end of this conversation today, we might have one or two that might want to become an operator. Let's talk. All right. In January of this year, there was a lot of hype that American was going to go out of business. Been quiet. We're working on something. Well, one of the things that we showed at American on, I think it was February, was a Hot Wheels. And most people said, why are you showing this game from 3 years ago? One of the key points in that game, that video conference, was the boards that were in that game. Those boards were a new version, our own version, of the circuit boards that are in American Pinball games. But we were showing you on an older game because we made them retroactive. As a company, we spent a lot of money to make sure that a board set that we're designing could go back all the way to Houdini to support you as the owners, that if you ever had a problem with your game and that board dies, you can call us up, and the boards aren't that expensive. You're talking about like $200. It replaces all the boards in the game. New code, your game's back up and running and support. So from Houdini to Galactic Tank Force, we bought the boards. We didn't own our board set. That was one of the key driving factors when I walked in the door at Valhalla to come out with a new board set, because we wanted to make it so it can be long supported. Because if that company went bad, we're done, right? And I drove the team to make it so it's pin for pin replacement. So you could literally take the board out, plug all the ports in, upload the new code, and your game's up and running. Simple, easy. Changed all the firmware. So let's show the next slide we have there. Okay, so this is Galactic Tank Force LE with the lit treads. A beautiful little game. This is actually at a European show, as you can see with the European coin door. This game in FECs, FYI, currently is doing about 1,000 to 1,200 swipes a month at $1 a swipe. That's unheard of in FECs for a pinball to be pulling over 1,000 swipes. In the one location, by the end of December this year, we will know if she made $12,000, which would be really cool for us. It's we strive to make a really good machine. We pride ourselves on our play fields, because I don't want no chipping, pooling, cracking, nothing. There is, little dents, you're going to get those, divots, but not to the point that some other manufacturers have let go as standards. Again, the board system. So we were happy about the new board system because we've already had it here. If we go to the next slide, this is the team with the Galactic Tank Force. This is Steve Bowden. He's my rules. This is Ryan McQuaid, my new young whippersnapper game designer. And this is Bree Reynolds, who is probably one of the best tech rules consultant. She can play a game and tell you everything. She'll tell you that this light isn't flashing right. Consult with Steve, and Steve will be like, how did you catch that? She's very technical, very technical. And also, it doesn't hurt that she's Ryan's girlfriend. So that works for us. Next picture. One of the things you're seeing here, this is Interium, okay? This is Interium. This is the whole row of 5 games that we have in Interium. Now, Interium is an FEC that is literally 10 minutes from our office. Why do I have an FEC as a test location? This game here had that new board system that we talked about back almost 8 months earlier, before Expo. Some of the other games had the new board system also put in there. Why do I do that? I test everything that we put in the game before we put it out to the public. So that new board system ran through all the employees, all the people, John Q. Public, 365 days, 7 days a week. And if I get a new shooter rod, or I get a new power supply, or I get a new coil manufacturer, they go in here. You, the public, don't know it, but I'm testing it to the death to make sure I have a good product. Because if I have a new metal bracket that's firing over here, and it only lasts for like 2 weeks, I'm taking it out, I'm sending it back to the manufacturer, and I'm not going to put it in my production. Because I want to make sure it's a good, well-built machine. Legends of Valhalla, as we all know, was a Riot pinball. We brought it from them, and in 10 months, we were able to put it into production. So it's all our games. I love all of them. Oktoberfest is still loved, and so is Houdini. And we're going to go into a little bit more of Houdini and some of the other ones. What's the next slide? All right. So I like rare games, right? Here's a rare game. This is Full Throttle number 4 from Andrew. I knew Andrew. Bought the game off of him. It was posted. I bought this for one reason, because I was going to do a kit. I really wanted Aliens. Okay, loved Aliens. So he talked me into buying this. I bought it. I had some problems with it. This is where I all of a sudden go to I want to make sure my customers are taken care of. I ended up sending all the boards off to France to somebody and paid good money to have all the boards replaced to get this game back up and running, because I had a small problem. Next slide. But I love pinball. Highway did one of the things that manufacturers should never do. And I'm just going to point this out. This is something that manufacturers need to remember. It's great to be innovative. It's great to start off, but don't reinvent the entire wheel, right? Don't reinvent the flipper. The flipper is already there. We've had it for how many years, right? So I had this conversation earlier today, and I'm going to just share it with you. We at American Pinball use the industry standard flipper, pop bumper, slingshot mechs from the industry leader during the 80s and 90s. Now, I can't licensely tell you what that is, but if you know who the industry leader was during those years, those are my flippers, those are my pop bumpers, those are my slingshots. So why reinvent the part, right? So if you have those parts, in which most of you all have those games, you have those parts in inventory, you can just take them and put them in an American game. You don't have to go and find the crazy coil sleeve that Andrew used. You don't have to go find the other little parts that are up there. Now, Andrew, he was innovative. He threw a ton at it. In fact, he also had that screen in the middle of the playfield, which is why barbecue has the screen in the middle of the playfield. We researched that to death. I'm not afraid to look at other industries' games and say what worked, what didn't, and how can we perfect it. Because as a manufacturer, you want to take what is normal, what we build together, and just continue to make it fresh. Okay, make it more innovative. Next slide. I think the next slide is just the whole game. You guys remember Full Throttle, I hope, right? Yeah? Okay. That's it? Yeah. Okay. So what we're going to do now is barbecue. Let's talk about barbecue for a second. And I know I was going to get this. And my wife ran some interesting questions to people. The question was about barbecue is because most people don't understand what barbecue is. They don't understand the philosophy behind the game. Let's put it this way. Barbecue in the U.S. is Oktoberfest to Germany. Okay. In the U.S., there are barbecue festivals that happen all over the place, kind of like Oktoberfest happens over here in Europe and different places. And at Oktoberfest, there's these crazy, there's rides, there's things. Well, there's crazy stuff that's going on at barbecue festivals. There's bands, there's bike night, there's drag racing. So barbecue was basically designed around that aspect, Americana, the fun of that. I know that you guys don't put a lot of meat on there, but trust me, when you play barbecue, you may end up being very hungry at the end of the gameplay. And there's a reason for that. We wanted you to be hungry, right? We debuted this in Texas, and we hit our mark because we had people who had went out for brisket and barbecue come back, and they're playing barbecue, and they're like, is it gluttony that I want more barbecue? I want to eat more. I'm hungry. Why am I hungry right now? This is ridiculous. But understand that this was also a dedication to an old friend. I had known Barry Ousler for many years. Okay, and Barry was a great guy, gentle giant, but mischievous as crazy. He was the fireworks technician at Williams Pinball. And what I mean by that, at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when all the designers are in their office kind of dozing off after having a big lunch, Barry was known to go and light bottle rockets under their doors so they fly up and explode in their office while they're falling asleep. So you just imagine, boom, explosions right in their office. They're like, ah! Or somebody pulling back and a whole pack of firecrackers going off, just lit and, just crazy. And he would be this. What happened? Oh, that's terrible. I can't believe somebody did that. And he would just go back, they would all be like, was it Barry? No. Barry, did you hear what just happened at Steve's office? No, what happened? How could someone do that? It's terrible. Ken Fedesna, a good friend of ours, who was the director of Williams at the time, told me, he says, he tested Barry on one question. He said to Barry, he says, if somebody was smart, I don't know who this guy is, but the next time he needs to put a little aluminum foil down before he lights these things off because he's causing burn marks in the carpet. Next prank, there was aluminum foil on the floor. He only told it to Barry, so he knew it. So in Barry's game, Barry's Barbecue, we pay tribute to those fireworks. And we have it actually as fireworks multi-ball, as the bash targets. So the cool thing about, and I didn't bring up the thing, but we'll show the video in a second. The bash target was a target that was designed by us in the team. Barry had a problem with deep root, as we all know, kind of fell apart. He called us up. He wanted to start working. I put him right on a project. We got him a contract. He started in August. He started working with Steve Bowden immediately. Him and Steve were good friends. And Steve was kind of like a co-designer with Barry. And I put it to Barry very simply. I said, Barry, you made a game that we all know, which was Space Shuttle. And Space Shuttle was this great game. It was a Shedmark game. It was a game that transcended because the factory was dark. And then Space Shuttle came out, and he sold a ton of Space Shuttles, and it started ramping up pinball again. Because there was this big pinball crash. It just kind of died out. And Space Shuttle was, cool. It had good sounds. It had a bunch of fun things, and very approachable. Well, Barry brought that thought and design to barbecue. He wanted to make it very approachable. You walk up and you go, psst, this is a simple game. Very simple game. But can you put 1 billion points on it? Can you put 2 billion? Can you put 3 billion? So Steve Bowden started working on a simple game, well, not so simple, but a game that's going to have tons and tons of deep rules. Basically making a rule set from now on a game that's very approachable, and you walk up, and yeah, you can literally in one ball go to 2 billion points. And I'll tell you why. So Steve, and it was a team challenge. It was Steve versus me and Ray. We have a podcast that we did at our Twitch. And Ray and I put in 1 billion points. We're happy. Steve had 20 million points. That's all he had. One ball left. One ball Bowden. He ended up putting over 2 billion on there. So let's watch the trailer clip of barbecue right now.
Welcome to Barrio's Barbecue Challenge.
Strap in, flyboy. We are barbecue bound.
Show us what you've got. Skill shot. Fire in the hole. The shizzle.
Hit those spinners.
Shoot the drop targets.
All right, sugar. That's nice.
Ball 1 locked.
Too sweet.
Time to spice it up.
Ball 2 locked.
Come on in, honey. Good to see you.
Hey, chef. Bring it on.
Unbelievable.
I'll moonwalk you right out of here.
Master multi-ball. Fire!
I am smoking.
Excellent.
You nailed it.
C'est la vie, baby.
Think you can match my mama's sides?
Too sweet.
Sauce-tacular.
Thanks for stopping on by.
Ring that bell.
That Barry O, he is a kidder.
Bless your heart. You're doing your best.
Barry is a kind and sweet man, for sure.
So this game is dedicated to Barry because Barry had designed this game completely, handed it in to us. We had a phone call on Friday. He was all excited about this because I was going to have a whitewood made up by end of March, beginning of April. We were already talking about him flying up to play it. And the Tuesday after that, his wife called me that we lost him due to complications of his cancer treatment. It hit the team really hard. And we ended up pulling ourselves together, and we said we were going to call it just Barbecue Challenge. And at that point in time, we dedicated it to Barry. 6 months before, I helped Barry write up the contract so that, which was unheard of at the time, we put a clause in the contract which basically says that his royalties would continue to go to his family. Because most of the game designers, when they leave a company, the royalties are done. You don't get any more royalties off your games. In this case, because Barry had been fighting cancer and I've known him for many years, I wanted to make sure that his family and the estate would continue. So all the games proceeds for the royalties are still going to his family. And we then, Steve Bowden and I, and the rest of the team started working on this game to dedicate to Barry and also put in there a tribute to Barry in that all the rules are the best of all the rules of his other games. So there's a lot of call-outs, there's a lot of hidden gems in Barry's games. In fact, the side of the cabinet, if you get the chance to take a look, there's a heart carved in the side of the right side that says Barry and Donna. Now, Donna was Barry's first wife that he lost to cancer after 50 years of marriage. And on the other side was his current wife, Kathy, with Barry and Kathy scrolled in the side of the cabinet. There were many other little fitting tributes that we paid to Barry. Also, there's a license plate. I'll just share this. There's a license plate on the head that says Pinball, and it says Sheridan. Sheridan was Barry Ousler's brother, who worked with Barry at Williams and went to work at Stern, and worked at Stern until he passed away a year before this game came out. And unfortunately, nobody ever paid any tribute to Sheridan, but we did, because we all knew the kind of guy he was. So Barry had done a lot. Bash targets were kind of a thing that the team put together. I had challenged Ryan McQuaid about building the bash target, making it a way for the ball to roll back and go back and lock itself. Because in the old days, like Space Shuttle, you would hit the ball and it just sat there, dry hit, right? You didn't get any points. Now all of a sudden this thing turns it into a bash target. Now you can score points, put in a special multi-ball. Next thing you know, this thing's taken off. We were having fun with it. We were all playing it. So we were so happy with Barbecue and how it's turned out. Hopefully you guys get to play it. It's here. The new code is on it, so that's a good thing. What do we have? I'm not going to show the other video right now, but
The Easter egg one.
Huh?
The Easter egg one?
Yeah, I'm not going to show the Easter egg one. But let's go to Aura for a second.
Okay.
Any questions on Barbecue? No?
You got a fragrance dispenser.
So we had originally at Texas, we were going to have the fragrance dispenser, but the hotel said no, you can't have something pushing out, something with like a lit candle or something, because we tried all kinds of stuff. All right, so we're going to show you this. Now, you're going to say, what does American Pinball have to do with a Gottlieb victory? Okay. So let's go to the next slide, Martin. This is Gottlieb victory. We all know this, right? The standard bulb. So American Pinball is making a kit. In 2030, this bulb and this transformer will be illegal. You can't get them anymore. They'll be off the market. The starter you can still get, and these bulbs in the last year have doubled and tripled in price. Ridiculous. So go to the next slide, Martin. So we have come up with a kit called the Aura Backbox Lighting Kit. Now, this is basically our lighting kit that we already use in all of the American games. Okay, this is a hard strip that we designed and manufactured that takes 12 volts. And we have all the connectors and the screws, and this is just the power adapter that we went out and bought up. Very simple. These guys here are very simple. You just twist the wires and you put it in, and you're clipped in and you're ready to go. Next slide. So this is what it gives you. It gives you the Aura lighting around the back box. We dealt with Steve Young from Pinball Resource because Steve's going to start carrying this, but he loved the idea that we now took the bulb that was right in the dead center. Now it makes it much easier to operate on the games, operate on all the boards. Go to the next slide, Martin. There it is lit up. And one more. You can see how well, before you had just a bar across, now you have the rich blues, reds, yellows, everything's popping out. Beautiful. All right, next slide. There's before, and then we go back one, there's the after. Okay, pretty cool. And do we have one more slide in there? Yep. Okay, I'm not going to tell you what game this is, but you can tell by the manufacturer this is another DMD display, and it's available that you can connect the Aura back box lighting kit to that game. Currently, we are now selling the Aura lighting box kit on our website for $79.95. It's not that expensive. I'm not going to gouge people. So the idea is that you can get a new, take out your old system, very simple. We're going to have a video to show you how you can install it on any of your games that may have had the big long bar in the back to save you guys time and money. Let's go back. Let's show the beginning, before and after one more time. Before and then after. It makes the games just pop, makes them look great. Okay, we're done with this. Let's go to Martin. I know you have some questions you want to hit me with, and then we're going to open it up to question and answers from the whole team, or the whole group of people.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I think you answered most of the questions already in that
I don't know.
rather lengthy answer to my original question. Let's talk about the company and American Pinball and how it's changed under your leadership. When you arrived, you had a bunch of people working there, most of whom are no longer working there. Okay, so you have different designers, different game designers, not all active at the moment, but you have as you mentioned, you had Ryan. You brought Ryan on board. You worked with Riot Pinball on Legends of Valhalla. Joe Bowser obviously designed the first 3 games.
Correct.
But not beyond that point. Dennis came in, did Galactic Tank Force, and potentially other games which he might be able to tell us more about. And of course, we haven't seen anything from Ryan yet.
Correct.
So there's a lot of sort of pent-up talent and expectation of what's going to be coming down the line. And obviously,
Right.
you can't talk about that specifically, but you can give us a bit of an idea. And also in the wider company, you know, you brought in Zofia as well as head of mechanical engineering, and one of the big issues I think that people have had in the past with American Pinball is when it comes to customer support. You know, you've had people working there, they've left, they've gone away, and they come back, and then you brought on other people as well to help you in that particular regard. So, I mean, do you want to tell us a bit about how the company has developed under your leadership since 2020?
Okay, do we have 5 hours? No. Let's put it this way. We brought in, when we redeveloped the team, when I walked in the door, there was the president of the company, and we had Joe Balser, who was a game designer, Joe is good. Joe's a great designer, but there's a moment when game designers get fed up with companies and they get toxic and they need a little break, right? And that's where Joe got. He got to the point that he needed a break, and he's doing really good right now. He's got a nice job. He's been working on stuff. He's already thought about maybe designing another game. We might bring him back. There's one of his games that is in the archives that we want to talk about, and so that's open on the table. Dennis Nordman was wanting to get a game out for many years, and he had been floating around in different companies, Deep Root, Highway, and Galactic Tank Force was a game that he had pitched, and he had 2 other games with us. So those games, those other 2 are still in the works. They're not dead. So, and then we needed a mechanical engineer. So I reached out to Barry Ousler, and I had heard of a woman by the name of Zofia Bill. Now, Zofia Bill started working at Williams in, I'm going to say 85, 86. You ask her, she was 5 years old, because that's just her age. But she broke the glass barrier. She did. She broke the glass barrier at Williams. She really worked hard. She designed the mech for Dracula, for Miss Multiball. Okay, that beautiful mechanism that you see going across, that was her design. She did the rotating heads on Bride of Pinbot and a lot of the other stuff that's in Bride of Pinbot. Now, when you think of a mechanical engineer, and I'm putting these big components, think about it. There's 8,000 pieces in a pinball machine. They all have to fit together, right? There's a half mile, or at that time, there's a mile of wiring in each machine. So she would know everything, everywhere, how it would fit and how it would handle. She brings that knowledge to American Pinball, and we loved it because she's, we call her the queen. She knows what's going on, and if she, most of the time we're saying, "You're correct, Zofia, you're correct," and she's like, "See, I told you, don't fight with me." I said, "We're not fighting, we're just asking if this is possible." She goes, "No, it's not possible." What I love though is about 3 or 4 hours later, she'll come in and goes, "Well, if you want to change it this way, it could work," because she's thinking about it. So Zofia is a great person. I love Zofia, and that's why I made her head of mechanical engineering. She has a team under her of 3 other mechanical engineers. She has a young guy by the name of Benjamin, who is an up-and-coming engineer in himself. He knows how to put together games. That, again, team was being built, right? We brought in Jack Hager, who was our art director. He worked on little games like Mortal Kombat, and other video games that you may have heard of that like Narc and whatnot. I mean, just little stuff. You're not going to know much about those. But he brought in the talent. Now, Jack was at Mortal Kombat. He had worked on the green screen revolution. He worked on Open Ice. He worked on a bunch of other games for Midway at the time. So when we did Galactic Tank Force, we're sitting under COVID, and I'm sitting there, and I'm playing with green screens with my backdrop. And I said to Jack, I says, "How hard is it to do a backdrop?" And he's like, "Oh, that's simple stuff." We were doing that, and we had treadmills that we painted green. We did all kinds of stuff so that it gives people the illusions. I says, "How hard and how much would it cost us to do this?" Well, that's when American Pinball Studios opened up. And that's where we did all the stuff with Galactic Tank Force. We brought in 2 actresses, 2 actors, and we brought the whole team in on that. And we had some fun with that. Galactic Tank Force we were like, okay, there's no bounds. Unfortunately, I let Jack go at it, and I kind of got Gone with the Wind. It's a movie, a game that is 16 gigs of memory that goes in, and all the rest of our games are like 2 or 3 gigs. So there's a ton of stuff. There's more updates coming, and there's more modes that are coming, the final modes. So some of the stuff that people haven't got to yet, like the final Ice Cream Social, and the big battle against Anoia. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming out on that game. So under that leadership, we've really grown this into a nice little company, right? We have a nice little team of people, and it's not like I'm the big guy on the block, right? We're small. We're a small company, but we have heart. That's what I always want to say. We put the best product forward. Now, one of the things that I had to battle with at the very beginning was I came into the company and said, "Okay, let's do this license and this license." And the owner of the company says, "Well, we don't have the money to do licenses right now. So can't afford it." He says, "We have this license that you guys did. It's Hot Wheels, but we're not going to go into the next one until we got enough Hot Wheels sold and we can recoup that license and whatnot." So it kind of put us on a break, right? So immediately we went out and we talked to Riot, brought Riot in, and Riot's going to do another game with us. And he's doing another game, then it's going to be licensed. So we're excited about that. He brought out Legends of Valhalla. Zofia and the team, mechanical engineers, they literally took a homebrew and in 10 months brought us out a production game. I am very impressed by that. In fact, we would have had it in 7 months if it wasn't for a manufacturer who makes our metal parts goofed up and delayed us 3 months. So we could have had it out within 7 months. So we always have these little things like homebrew challenges. I know I got some homebrewers back there, and I have a young man over here who have some of their coolest games right here, like Mario and, of course, Forbidden Planet. So these games are passion projects, right? This is an R&D department, all right? These guys are sitting there figuring out what it costs to do it. Now, if you take, I know I asked the gentleman in the back earlier, how much could you have bought, or how many games could you have bought instead of making Mario Brothers? How many games could you bought? Maybe said 3 LEs. So you think about it, 3 LEs, $30,000. That's what they put in to make one game. That's the strength and the passion of the groups, right? So for me to tap into that, Ryan McQuaid had done a game called Sonic, based off a Sonic Spinball. And we were going to get that license. We were right in to get the license, and somebody snatched it away from us. So stay tuned on that. You may see that show up from another company, and Ryan says good luck and enjoy. So we'll get to that. But as a small team, we had to come up with some creative stuff. So Galactic Tank Force came up because we couldn't get a license. Legends of Valhalla, we couldn't get a license again. But we went out and got the music for Legends of Valhalla. Galactic Tank Force, we pushed the envelope. We went out and got actors to be in the game, to be part of that. We're giving you content, right? We might not be able to create, Guardians of the Galaxy or a new version of some space-themed movie, right? But we could go out and make our own version, give it the love of it, and let Chris Franchi literally create a world. And we knew we created a world with Galactic Tank Force when I had people from Finland and Norway come to me at a trade show going, okay, this Galactic Tank Force TV show, what year did it come out? Was it something that didn't get exported out of the country? And we were like, no, we created it ourselves. Oh, you created it yourself. So the whole world, so many hours of filming and taking and putting it all together to create this game. And the sad thing is, like shows like this, you're not going to get to hear Galactic. If you have Galactic in your home, like this gentleman does here, you'll hear the jokes. You'll hear the funny, quips. You'll hear the zaniness of, the different things that are going on, okay? And we break barriers. We step over because we didn't have a license. We had to create something that's going to be memorable. And Galactic Tank Force did that. Barry O's, again, we couldn't get a license, okay? Now we're happy the next 3 games from American are all licenses. So there you go. We have licenses in the work. But we still want to have that creativity. And I'm going to say something. I know a lot of people always tell me, you got to have licenses. Licenses sell, licenses sell. Yes, licenses sell to people who don't know pinball. Okay? It's just that title that you're buying because you're that avid fan of that music group or that TV show or that thing, and you're like, oh, I got to have this, And it depends on how well they integrate it, right? I've seen some games not so well integrated with the license. And I've seen other ones that is like, yep, this works, right? I always think of the Juggernaut license game that came out from Williams in 91, 92. And if I go da-da-da-da, you all know exactly what the pinball machine is, right? But then there's other shows like The Shadow. The best thing that came out of the whole thing was the pinball machine, right? So as a team and as people trying to bring together a passion, we want to live the experience. Now, I'm going to give a little clip here. The next game we have coming out, I am proud, and I told Ryan, don't get used to this. The licensor and us have weekly meetings, and they're pinball fans. So this license is the best integration I've ever seen of a pinball machine. And what is coming together is probably the best pinball. I am so excited about the next machine, okay? because it's also licensed, but the assets and everything we're getting to be put into this game. And it will feel exactly what it's supposed to be. And to have a licensor to give us and sit there and have meetings with us on a weekly basis and say, this is the next thing we've done. We've done this, we've done that. It's amazing. Most of the time when you deal with licensors, they go, okay, here's all the artwork. Have a nice day. You know, oh, you want video clips? So here's some video clips. Have a nice day. That's it. But to be able to work with somebody like that is just amazing. And I told Ryan, I said, don't get used to this because you may go back to people going, here's your contract, bye, you know, that kind of thing. To have the team to work together to do stuff is amazing. So we also had some really cool artists that have joined us. Chris Franchi is working on some projects with us. Also a young, not a young man, but his name escapes me right now. Okay, there's another artist that's working with us on some games too. So we're excited about that. Did I catch everything, Martin?
I think so. Let me just pick up on a couple of those points, and I'll throw it open to the audience to ask some questions. But bringing it back to something that's quite pertinent at the moment, and although it's quite boring, we have to talk about money. We do. It's something that you mentioned about when you can afford a license. You have to regain value from a license you've already purchased. And we've seen with other companies, particularly in the last couple of months, how a lack of money can lead them into dire situations, shall we say, an eventual collapse. How important and how does it work with having Aimtron as your parent company and having the support of them, both financially and now, I guess, in terms of manufacturing board sets for your games, because that's like having a rich parent, if you like, who's willing to indulge you to a certain degree, but obviously there are limits to all these things. As you said, Mukesh was at the point of making the decision: either you close down American Pinball or you go full, go full throttle into it.
I hope not full throttle into it. I'm not trying to do Andrew's job.
Yeah. So what's the Aimtron situation? We did cover this in the interview that we did with you on our podcast that I do with Jonathan Jewson of Pinball Magazine, where we're talking about the IPO, the Indian Aimtron Electronics company.
Correct.
Which doesn't impact directly on Aimtron Corporation, which American is part. But let's just stick to the money and how that works, and also, let's say, having Aimtron as your rich father, as it were.
Well, he's not a rich father to the point that he just throws money at it. Understand that he considers American Pinball like a 20-year-old child. And what that means is Dad will help out, but as a 20-year-old child, you're supposed to be leaving home and paying back Dad some money at some point, right? He wants us to stand on our own, which, we are trying to. Okay, it's not easy in a market. Right now, the market's very soft. And understand that when you go for a license, let's talk about licenses for a minute. There's a term in the licensing industry, in the pinball industry, called dead money. Okay, now let's say you're going to go for a license. Let's just throw something crazy out there. I know somebody said Firefly earlier. But just imagine I went to see Firefly, the company that did it, and say, I want to do this game. They would ask for $50,000 to $100,000 up front, and I'd have to pay them that money, and I have to have that gone for maybe a year and a half to 2 years. So that's dead money. That's $100,000 I can't play with because I went and got a license. I had to put that off to the side. And now I have to continue to create and develop. Understand, every game you saw here, all the games on the flyers, $1.2 million in R&D go into each of those games. It's a lot of money. And Galactic, I think, went over that, especially with the filming and all the extra stuff we put in it. But $1.2 million and a year, maybe a year and 6 months of our lives to build these games, right? So it's a lot, right? There's a lot that we put in there. And then, of course, you have to sell those games. And then if you get a license, throw that money in, which is money you can't play with because you already paid the licensor for it, and you're hoping you're going to get it all back. And then the licensor does this to you, which is kind of, well, we don't like that. We don't like this scene here. I don't know about that. That artwork is cool, but the foot's in the wrong place. The foot? The hand, the glove shouldn't come up, 3/4 of the way. It should come just around his wrist. It's really, really tough. And you play back and forth. And guess what? That drags out timelines. You think about it, Galactic Tank Force, with everything we did with the actors and actresses and the people, if I had to deal with a licensor, they would be going through everything. I'd have to pay for all the actors that were in the movie. I had to pay for their rights, the call-outs, if I had to bring somebody in for the studio. It's a ton of money. It's a lot of money that goes into making a game. Understand, like the Forbidden Planet. It's great, you can take the movie clips, but if you had to you don't have Leslie Nielsen in Forbidden Planet or Robbie the Robot going extra ball. You don't have that in the movie clips. You'd have to come up with somebody else to do it, or have somebody, a voice actor, to sound alike. Just like you don't have Mario Brothers in the back going, extra ball or jackpot, because it wasn't called out, right? So there's little extra stuff you have to add to a license. And as a parent company, it's like, Dad, I need money to do this. Now, granted, he sees the value. He sees that. He's supporting us. But he wants us to grow. He wants us to stand on our own. First year I was at the company, we were in the red. Let's say by XX. Second year I was in the company, we were in the red, but only by X. Cut it in half. The next year, third year, we weren't in the red. We're in the black. Now this year we may be back in the red a little bit, maybe back in the black. It doesn't matter. The problem is this year has been an election year in the U.S., which causes emotions in the market. People hold on their money. People don't want to spend. Interest rates are up. But the coin-op market is now climbing. There are operators out there who want to put a pinball out and make money off of it. If it's a new title, they'll put it out there, and they're making $1,000 a month on the swipe, like Galactic Tank Force did at FEC, because they might not go out and buy the game, us pinball fans, but we'll go out and support it. We'll go out and put $5 on the game and play it and say, how did that work? So that's how I like to have this little conversation. I'm going to deviate for 2 seconds here. If you have extra games, and I know some of you, I went through this already, some of you have 10, 15, 20, some have 100, If you have a game that hasn't been used in a while, maybe talk about it with a friend who has a pub down the street. Take an older pin, put it out there. Get the community. Community is a lot of us are not young, okay? And I have to say, David, the gentleman that's running Retro Arcade.
Yeah, recognized specialist. Yeah.
He's a guy who has a lot of gift, and he is going to change the market. I can already see it, because he's young enough. He's trying to put games out. He's trying to increase the player base, because unfortunately we're an older group of players, and to get younger players in, we have to continue to increase that. And being stuck in our basements are not going to really do that. So taking one machine that you may have in your collection, and your wife's been like, you got to get rid of one of these machines. Yeah, I'll get rid of one of them. I'll put it out on location. We call it free rent because they end up paying you to put it there, and you go out and see what it's like to run a machine. American Pinball machines, let's just put it this way, have Titan rubber shipped with all the games. So that means that I want to make sure your game runs longer for an operator's perspective. LED lights throughout the whole game. You don't have to worry about replacing bulbs. There's many reasons that pinball kind of took a turn down, is that the pinball mechanics were getting older and they retired, and the new guys were like, I just know how to wipe them down, and that's about it. It was shared with me today that there was a game that went to the EAG show, and the technicians didn't know how to put the legs on it or open to put the balls in it. because it wasn't going through the normal channels. It was another company through another division of Sega. So it's kind of weird to see this, right? It's like, wow, you guys don't know how to do this? It's like common knowledge. Common knowledge to us, foreign knowledge to a lot of young people. And that's kind of why we do the YouTube questions and answers on our things. Because most of the technicians nowadays, they pull out their phone and go, how to change coil on American Pinball game. Oh, that's how I do it. And they sit there and they watch, and then they go to their girlfriend, hey, I'm working today, oh, I'm doing this. And meanwhile, the manager walks by and says, you're not supposed to be playing your phones. Oh, I'm looking up on how to fix this game. It's right here. That's how they get away with it. They love doing that. But that just helps. So what I'm trying to say is if you've got a game that's an extra game and you want to help the community, maybe put something out. Put it out there and see if you can make a few buddies. You know, all of a sudden people start seeing it and go, hey, you know what? I remember when I used to play these. This group will grow, and this hotel will not be able to contain all the people that will be coming to these shows. All right, back to you.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to throw it open to you to ask any questions that you want. Yes, Tony?
We'll go with the young lady in the front.
Oh, okay.
She's been patient.
Yeah, okay.
Please make sure it's a question about Tony. I want to hear it.
No, she doesn't like. You didn't like, what's it called, at Medway, did you? What's the pin you hate? Jetsons.
I'm not going to talk about that.
I know you're not, just saying.
Right, you've talked a lot about, obviously, you've got lots of original themes, and you talked quite a lot about it. I just wondered what was the sort of process that you have internally for how you actually choose which themes you go for, and how you develop them?
Very good. Very good. Very good question. Let's put it this way. So I can tell you Houdini. Houdini came on the heels of a game called Magic Girl. And magic games in particular always do well as a generic theme. You know, if you go back, you know, Theater of Magic, Pinball Magic, there's a bunch of other ones you can go back farther. Just because they have the magic and they're doing tricks with the ball, people get wowed by that. So, which leads to a great thing, and maybe we'll show this real quick. In 2017, we came out with Houdini. And the thought was, Houdini was, at that time, public domain. So we didn't have to pay a license. So we jumped on that immediately. And we designed this game, and we did all these tricks with the ball. And in 2017, we never did a pinball trailer, ever. 2019, 20, we never did a pinball trailer. Well, 2024, last month, we finally did Houdini's pinball trailer, and we're going to show that right now. This makes a great segue, so we're going to let this go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to begin.
A connection has been made. I feel a presence.
Let the show begin. I see you have no skill. Please take your seats. Booyah! Let's start an illusion.
I will only have a minute or two to avoid death.
Shoot the spinner. Incredible! Shoot the trunk to start multi-ball. Huzzah! Ball 1 is locked. Fantastic!
Begin seance to start multi-ball. Our seance has begun.
Super jackpot!
So that was one of the titles we decided to go with because magic sells, right? The next game, of course, was a dream theme by Joe Balser, who loved Oktoberfest. He was always going to the Oktoberfest and wanted to do that. The next theme we had, of course, was Hot Wheels, which was a custom, a licensed game. So we were like, okay, let's give everybody what they want. And then remember in Hot Wheels. So that was easy, kind of to pull it together. And let's set the record straight too. That was Joe Balser and a younger guy who worked with him by the name of Roger Sharp worked on that game. So Roger worked an awful lot on Hot Wheels with Joe and also worked on the rule sets. So Josh Sharp and Roger Sharp worked on the rule sets for Hot Wheels. So that was kind of that. The next game out, of course, was Legends of Valhalla, which was a Riot game. They always loved the idea of that mythical, lore. And to that point, think about it, Black Knight, it's an adversary game. Adversary games, creative games like, fantasy or even magical, always do good in licensing. In fact, Houdini is probably one of the best games to date that we've built right next to Hot Wheels. Both of them have now done about 10 runs of games. So give you a little clue that we've been running them for a long time. In fact, Houdini's still on the production line. Supposed to go back on beginning of September. So we make an awful lot of those games. Then we did Galactic Tank Force and space themes, right? 60s sci-fi, huge seller for most people. They immediately get it. And then, of course, barbecue. We sat down with the team. We let Barry Ousler choose it. He loved the idea of barbecue because he's gone to barbecue festivals. And there were many people around that area that there were more barbecue restaurants near his house than there were McDonald's. So it was just, again, something that we saw as a niche to go after. And then the next game, which is a license, you'll have to wait and see. But that's good question about how we pull those. Okay, so let's go back to another question. By the way, I'm going to give I have a prize here for the first question. Thank you.
While we're on the subject of licenses, I think we can actually address something which you mentioned the other day in our interview about how barbecue could also be a white label game.
Yeah. So barbecue was designed as a white label game. That's we've been talking about this for a bit. White label means that barbecue can all of a sudden come back as another game, as a licensed game down the road, or anybody who wants it. So when I first started at American, I was getting calls from Jack Daniels, Tito's Vodka, many beer companies that wanted their own pinball machine. Now, to take a pinball machine and to create those was really tough. But we designed Barry-O's as a white label game so that it could become Jack Daniels. It could become Tennessee Whiskey. It could become a band, right? And we have now already started working on that with other companies to make that game, small runs as they might be, as the new white label game. So it was originally designed as a white label game so that I could do many, many operations and different forms of that game.
Right, so we're thinking same kind of thing that Stern do with Woe Nelly in order to perhaps Blue Ribbon or other bands.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Right, sorry, questions? Yes, Toby. Do you want to just shout?
Yeah, will you be showing a new game at Expo? And if not, when?
Oops.
Just on time scale.
No problem. No, we won't be showing a new game at Expo. We will be showing a new game. Just stay tuned. So could it show up at Expo? Maybe. But right now, the one thing I want to do is I don't want to rush a game out the door. I want to make sure that the game is ready, and I want to make sure it hits the street correctly, and I don't want to have a failed launch. I want to make sure that this is right. When we released Legends of Valhalla, think about this. Legends of Valhalla took the industry and everybody from American by surprise. Understand, we had released Hot Wheels the year before, and now all of a sudden, 30 machines were released to the public in 30 locations across the United States. The giant magazine was released to all the people, including Martin got one, and people here in the UK who had gotten Pin Game Journal. We had a video, we had all this stuff, and it all hit on day one. Surprised everybody, and we just sold games. We did what we were supposed to do. Galactic Tank Force, we teased it too long. We gave you a teaser. We knew people, oh, it's coming, it's coming. We teased it. We did 2 teasers. Then we released it, and everybody's like, really? But we also hit the juggernaut of 7 games being released at the same time. Which, if you think about it, okay, you can buy this brand new car or these other 6 brand new cars. Which one do you like? We have them in all colors, all flavors. So we ran into that. Barry Ousler's game, Barbecue, that was just another kind of, we were ready and then something else hit wrong and we weren't ready. So it caused, there's a lot, trust me, making pinball machines, not easy. Not easy. And if you have the home brewers back there, trust me, they're probably sitting there going, I know what it took to get the game here. I'm dead tired. And I ran into this problem, that problem, the other things. We got to have those problems gone, right? That's where Interium comes into play. I want to test a new mech, I put it out there. If there's something new somewhere, I want to test it where I know it's going to work. So day one, it happens. I have 5 prototype Galactic Tank Forces. The first 5 prototypes that we built were the front grille, those targets right there in the front, are perfect. They never bent back, they never caused air balls, they never caused anything. And then when the manufacturer shipped me the same part, to this day they refuse to acknowledge they changed the metal. But if I have 5 that have over 2,000, 3,000 plays on it, and they have never bent back, and then I have ones that I had in Texas that had only 200 plays and they're doing this, there's definitely a problem. Right? In fact, what happened with that is that manufacturer no longer makes parts for us. Okay? Because I'm not going to put myself out there. There's too much money on risk to be doing that. And trust me, he made metal parts for me that were in Hot Wheels and for test pieces, right? To see how well he makes parts. And then when I got it and he changed the component or the way it was manufactured, it caused me a nightmare. And we made sure the kits got out to people. Did you get a kit?
No, mine shipped with the kit fitted.
Okay, so you already had the kit in there. And trust me, that's jumping through hoops. That's opening up boxes in the back and say, okay, we're going to spend this week, you guys are producing, everybody here, we're not going to box the game. We're going to open all these boxes and we're going to put these kits in. And anybody who's already got the game, we're going to ship them out.
I'm glad because that looked like it was quite a tricky. I think some guy created a 3D mold prior to that, so there's people out there already trying to fix it, but the actual...
How many did you ship down?
How many of Galactic?
Yeah, with that problem.
So the first problem, I think it was probably close to 100 got shipped out with the problem. And then we shipped out the 100 kits to make them whole, and then the next 100 we were making sure that they were already integrated into the games. And then we kept going.
And there's nothing you can do with the manufacturing, you can't get the manufacturers to deny it.
Oh yeah, no, he didn't do anything for us, and that's why he's no longer a manufacturer of parts for us. But that's unfortunately the risks we run, right? And trust me, I was all set and we were ready to roll. That was not my issue or thought was going to be my problem in Texas, and when somebody showed it to me, it was like, oh crud. The other thing that happened in Texas, crazy as enough, and the production of those games, and I'm going to just point this out, somebody grabbed a case of balls that were not from our normal supplier, and they somehow got into production. And to this day, I basically went back and I ripped all those balls out and threw them away and just got them out of the building, because what they were chrome. And chrome has a problem of being magnetized. So if you don't put ninja balls in any of American games, not that they're not because ninja balls are great, they're just high chrome and they're highly magnetized. Okay, so what happens with that is, in Galactic Tank Force, if you see the stream, you'll see 3 balls sitting up in the lock, and they're just sitting there chilling. because they're all magnetized to each other, and they're just one's holding the other one. It's going, okay, you can go, and it's just sitting there going, no, I'm not going anywhere because my buddy is holding me on. That's what happened, but we didn't catch that. I was like, how in the world did these where did these come from? Oh, we just pull them off this rack. And literally, I'm calling the manufacturer who I've known over 20 years that made the balls for us normally, all right, SD Industries. They make, and I'm yelling at him, and he's like, David, I have chrome balls in one facility, and I have your carbon balls in another facility, because together you can't tell the difference between the two. All you can tell is if you put them there and you pull it and it pulls the other ball behind it, it's magnetized and it's chrome. And he says, I can get you a test where you can take a little swab and put them, on that, but it's ridiculous. You want to swab 10,000 balls? No, I don't want to do that. Just take those, throw those away. Let's get the right balls in here. So that was another little issue that we had. So some people got chrome balls instead of carbon balls in the games. So that led to a little bit of a delay.
Okay. And I'll do a little plug for Pinball Expo that although David says that they may not be revealing their next title there, what you will be able to do if you go to Pinball Expo this year is to do a tour of the American Pinball factory and see how all the games are made, as well as tours of other manufacturers as well, Jersey Jack, Chicago Gaming, and Stern Pinball.
Absolutely.
And other trips as well, including Galloping Ghosts, for those of you into video games, and Entarium as well, what David was just talking about. So big plug there for Pinball Expo. If you're able to go, it's only a few weeks away.
Yeah.
And it'll be quite a lot of work for both of us, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, I've already been working on it for the last 3 months. This year is the 40th. So, you see how nice this is here, right? We have, what do they have, about 120, 130 games this year?
163, I think.
Nice job. Way to go. 163. That's a really nice number. 200 games is always the go-to thing. Pinball Expo this year will be 100,000 square feet with almost 500 to 600 games on the floor, free play, and we're not talking from the manufacturers. So hopefully, if we can hit the numbers right, we'd love to hit 1,000 games. That would be the mecca. And because it's the 40th year anniversary, as Martin said, we have 4 tours of the factory. Now, Neil McRae, he will tell you, and Martin, have been through, I think, Tony, you were there too. You got to go through American Pinball's factory. Very clean, I would say. Don't eat off the floors, but they're very clean and very quiet, and people just love doing their jobs. And they working on those things. So, but Pinball Expo, 40 years is an accomplishment. Think about it. 40 years ago, that's what that's what they were like right here, right? The first Pinball Expo, they only had 100 attendees, and they had about just shy of 100 games, right? They had the manufacturers bring there. They had a small little thing. They were paying tribute, and now 40 years later, look at 100,000 square feet with all these games. So the UK Pinball Show, and hats off to Phil and the whole Pinball Pinfest crew for doing an amazing job, right? There's a lot of hours, I know, that I killed myself, and this guy is probably killing himself, and I try to make it very easy for him. He's like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. I'm on my way in, or I'll ship stuff in. Don't worry about it, we'll get it taken care of. So there's a lot of headaches that go into putting the show together. And if you want to know how that feels, just volunteer with Phil. Anytime, he's looking for volunteers all the time. And Phil, thank you for all the help and support that you guys put together for this show. Can we get a round of applause for Phil? Now share that with your team, Phil.
Okay, anyone else got questions for David about American Pinball or coin-op business as it is now?
Just a license thing. So you're saying the license to buy a license is what, $50,000 to $100,000?
Yeah, that's on the cheap end.
That's not, and after that you have to pay like a percentage of sales?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, they get a royalty.
Right.
And then, so I will tell you that there was one license. I'll share with you on that one. It would have probably been a great license. We were in negotiation. Just think of it this way. Purple Rain, Purple Rain. $2 million. Up front.
And then royalties on top.
And then royalties of almost $500 to $1,000 per game, per unit.
Really expensive, weirdest symbol I've ever heard of.
Yes. You will be seeing a game from one of my competitors who paid almost the same amount of money coming out shortly. And that was, and you guys kind of figure out it's a famous boy that comes from England. And that is a game that will be coming out at some point, yeah. So that license, I know, through the back channels was very expensive.
What they say for years, they won't be allowed.
Yeah, there's a lot of work has gone into that one. A lot of work. So, but anyway, any other questions? I can ask a trivia question and then I can give away some stuff.
When is your next release?
Next, when it's ready. Yes.
If Dennis Nordman was to bring out a sequel to Whitewater, how long have I got to save up for?
There's stuff in the works, but you just have to wait. So there, you know, we continue to work on games, and Dennis is working on stuff. It's not easy right now, right? The economy is tight. Everything gotten tightened on us. So as the 20-year-old child, we have to make sure we keep moving forward, selling games, and getting games to you here in England. So I know there's a few Galactics here in the country, one or two maybe of the Hot Wheels, but understand the factory has them full in stock. All our games are in stock. So if you contact Phil Palmer, which I'll give a shout out to Phil, thank you for bringing all those beautiful samples in here for everybody to play and to enjoy. Thank you. And there are also other distributors around the world that you can deal with. But Phil is our person right now here in the UK. Okay, so.
Can I ask who sets the prices?
The prices, the UMRP is set by us, which is what we normally sell our games for. And then Phil has to figure out import tax, all the other stuff, VAT tax, and shipping costs and all that other stuff. So that does play havoc with you guys on game costs. Hot Wheels right now is...
How can it be that you could buy one in the States, ship it over yourself privately, and save money?
Take that up with Phil.
Well, that's why I asked who sets the cost.
No, so we set
but your games don't get out to the public. I run a club.
Right.
And there was 13 people in here who are from that club, and we get new members and we get new members. None of them get to see your game.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't, for me, it's for a Galactic Tank Force, it's £10,000 for the Pro.
Yeah, or the deluxe. The deluxe Universal Manufacturer says that's the retail price on a deluxe Galactic Tank Force is $8,995 US.
Yeah.
Now, I know that the exchange rate is favoring you guys at like 36 cents on the dollar. So if I'm doing that in math, you're saving money there. You should be saving money on the tax and the VAT and all the rest, right? You should be doing okay with the price tag. But again, that's the distributor who's making that price because he's doing all the overhead, he's doing the import tax, he's doing all that other stuff that you might be missing if you're just shipping it from another distributor or from somewhere over in Europe, right? Because I know that you guys do that. Taxman is always there, right? I mean, the Beatles made the whole song about the Taxman, so that's...
Do you sell directly to public?
No, I do not sell directly to public. There's a reason for that. The biggest reason for that is I sell through distributor network because the distributors are supposed to be supporting, have the parts on hand, which we make sure that any distributor needs parts, call us, we'll ship them out. Anything that's on warranty, we'll ship those things out immediately too. We want to take care of all our customers. If it's going through Phil, he'll contact us, he'll contact service, he'll put an order in, we'll ship it out to him. And then he can have it. It depends on the distributor. If he wants to hold the parts and have it available for you, he can do that. it's all again back to the distributor and what he wants to do.
Can you buy it direct from a US distributor, send to the UK or then?
So be careful with that, because when you ship games into countries, there's certain regulations, CE certifications, UK certifications, FCC certifications. You got to have all the paperwork in the proper place. Now, sometimes games can slip through very simply, right? 220 game coming in from Germany, France, maybe from the UK or from the US or Canada. You could probably do that. But again, be careful, right? Just because there's a chance that you run, which is a big one, it might be held in customs. It might be quarantined in customs. I'm going to share something with you guys real quick about customs and so forth. Understand that with Expo and many things else, American and myself strive to be friends with everybody. And what that means is that I'm good friends with Jack Guarneri at Jersey Jack. I know Corwin is good friends with me at Spooky, and I'm good friends with Doug Duba down at Chicago Gaming. And there's a bunch of other guys that I know. The Pinball Brothers, I know them personally. I help them out every year at Expo, and I want to say Ventures in Pinball. I can't think of the guy up in Canada.
Andrew McBain.
Andrew, I'm friends with him. So we're all friends, right? We all know. When you build a pinball machine, it's like a room. We're all sitting together. We all know each other. And we sometimes call out and just help each other where we can. Now, the big guy, you all know who the big guy is. Some people have their shirt names on them right now. They kind of are getting to the point where I know some of them are still friends, and some of them are like, nope, not talking to you. You're the enemy. I'm like, how am I the enemy? I'm a little guy. I just make pinball machines. You guys, you guys are the gigantic, machine that just pumps out machines. So I keep the doors open for them. Yeah, cover your shirt. There you go. But we try to work with everybody. But just understand that you run the risk if you take a game and you buy it from the U.S. and you get it shipped over. There may be custom fees. There might be paperwork. There might be a whole bunch of things that might cost you. You might have to all of a sudden go, oh, well, now I'm paying $3,000 more than I was going to. And there's also discounts that some people get when they take a container of games, because the containers are a little bit easier and keeps it a little bit easier to ship over.
And also, I think we should talk about the support offered by your distributor as well. Now, if you need spares or you have an issue with a game, if your distributor that you bought it from is in Canada or in even in Germany, correct, then you have to deal with them. It's no good going back to David or indeed or to Phil and looking for assistance there. One of the things actually on a very similar subject I'd like to ask you, sure, is we have seen a problem with with Haggis Pinball failing, and I'm interested as someone now who's gone through the pinball manufacturing from start to finish, from the bottom up at American Pinball. What lessons do you think are learnt from Haggis's failure? Is it that it's too expensive or too difficult to make pinball in Australia? Because we've tried to make pinball in this country as well, and that hasn't worked out well either. So can you only make pinball in America? Or are there other factors at play which meant that Haggis was never going to succeed?
So I know some things of Haggis, and there's a bunch of interviews that are coming out, and people will know more about Haggis down the road. One of the things I will just say is, listen, I have a highway pinball. I know Andrew, and I know what he was doing here too. When you reinvent the flipper, it's going to cost you. When you reinvent 90% of everything that's in the game, it's going to cost you time and money. Time never stops. All right. So the other thing is, if you're renting equipment, time never stops. So I know that it was told to me that Haggis rented a lot of their equipment.
Yes, from another company owned by the same person.
Which meant that the time didn't stop on the accountants and on the books. And when stuff is rented, you still have to pay the rent. And understand that time causes a lot of problems and things. And remember, you also, the games that Haggis put out are licensed games.
Yes.
2 of them were licensed, right? So they paid the license. There's that dead money that went in there. There's a lot of things you have to take into account. Trust me, Andrew also had to put dead money into it for Aliens. Let's look back a little bit here for a second. And I don't mean to drag this on, and I, you know, but when Data East came out, they did Laser Wars, Torpedo Alley, Secret Service. It was Time Machine. There was a bunch of games that they didn't do that were licensed, right? Then they started doing licensed games, which helped them. Williams, when they were doing their first run of their solid state games, Hot Tip, I'm trying to think of all of them, Firepower, Flash, there was a lot of stuff that was not licensed. Same thing with Bally. They did a bunch of non-licensed games at the very beginning that were smaller EMs that they were converting over. Then they went to solid state and they did games like, you know, Flash Gordon. But you got your feet wet. You knew what you were doing, right? So when you build the first game, it's amazing. But remember, you're taking what you already know and building upon it, right? So you can't just go, okay, we're going to build this really cool machine and let's go with it, right? And let's get a big license. Understand, that almost killed one of my friends, right? You know the company. He came out with his very first game in 2010. We looked at it before, Wizard of Oz, right? That almost killed JJP. It put him on the ropes, right? And what did he put? He put a lot into that game. A lot is in Wizard of Oz. So you have to have the mindset of what it's going to cost, how you're going to build it, bill of materials, how you're going to build it, personnel, families, people who are going to spend time in your life. So, you know, it's got to be ramped up in the correct way, because if you ramp it up in the wrong way, you're going to end up with companies that are going to have, oh, well, we got to pay $150,000 for all the equipment for this month. We're not building anything right now because production starts in 2 months. Can't do that, right? You do that. You can do that, but you're going to end up on the short end of the stick, as they would say in the U.S.
Okay, any other questions?
Just one that's based on what you were just talking about there. So talking about part availability, and obviously now that Haggis is gone, it feels like those games are going to be obviously left to the wolves when it comes to finding spare parts for them, in the same probably manner as Andrew Highway's games. I'm just wondering, does your company put part distributors in the chain so that you can get parts out of warranty, not from a distributor?
Yes, we do put parts into Marco's and Pinball Life and all those other guys. And the young gentleman that was here, Dave, wants to bring parts in of American for my games here. So we talked about that this morning a little bit. Understand one thing I'm going to say about Haggis. Haggis is different from Andrew Highway. Haggis used Fast Pinball board sets. And Aaron at Fast Pinball is still in business and still making boards. So if you have a problem with the boards on your Haggis, you probably can deal with it through him. Also know that they were licensed through Planetary. So they used all Williams parts. So your parts are saved on that. So for the Haggis game, you should be okay for the long term. Now the playfields are a different story, right? That's something that they created. Anything else that they created for the game, that is going to cause you maybe some grief. But as it goes, right, you can basically repair a Haggis game. I'm thinking you should be able to repair a Haggis game and not have a problem with it. With Highway Pinball, he had a whole new board set, a whole new computer set. He had a whole new everything. The flippers were different. The pop bumpers were different. Everything was different. So you had to deal with all that, right? Even the motors and the Zynoforce, the motor on that, right? That's, it was done differently. And then it's coded differently, right? So you have structure that you didn't have. So Haggis has structure that will be able to be supported. Now, if I had all of a sudden a Fathom pinball machine, and this is just me as Dave Fix, the collector, because I am a collector kind of guy. And if I had that, I would probably buy myself a Fathom playfield from somebody like CPR or something and have it. And if I had a problem with that playfield, I would actually take a look at doing a swap, right? Or I would think about doing something along those lines. But I know that the board set's going to be supported by Fast Pinball, and I know that all the rest of the stuff is supported by Williams and Planetary. So I'm okay on the Haggis front. The highway pinball, not so much.
Can I just ask, because two of us own full throttled in the same club.
I own one too, but
have you found any way of getting bits for that?
Yeah.
Cool. Have a word, Mike, later.
So which parts are you talking about? The flippers are pretty strong.
I lost the flipper plate. It's sheared. And Helmut actually had one knocking around he gave me for free.
Okay. Well, that's the good thing about the
worried
community.
about losing another one.
It's a good thing about the community. Let's talk about it afterwards. But there's a whole bunch of flipper plates that may be available, or even coil stops and stuff like that. Andrew was creative, but not 100% creative. So sometimes he took Daddy East parts and mingled them with Bally parts. And there are certain things that were used. You have to do a little, investigative stuff on that. You can help yourself. There's a good forum out there that there's a bunch of guys out there that, the brothers, they don't, some of their stuff, yes, but some of their stuff, no. So just know that's, an issue.
Okay, anyone got any more questions?
No? Okay, let's
okay.
I got stuff to give away here. So
right. I'll let you give that away.
All right, let's think of a question here. Let's see. Okay, in Galactic Tank Force, there is somebody that, I know. Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, if he doesn't, then he's in trouble. Does anybody know who the girl is on the back of the glass that was from Mortal Kombat and all the other games?
Oh, I know you.
Yes. And what was her real name? It's close enough. It's actually
Say the first name and I'll say the second.
No,
I should have asked.
Carrie.
Hoskins. I should have said what the fudge. And then,
Yeah.
got me.
So what size are you? Double X?
No, large.
Just large? I only have XL or double X.
XL is fine.
Perfect. Vivian Berrio's t-shirt. Thank you.
Yeah, you're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah. One of those. Let's see, another trivia question. Yeah. So I could ask some Barry O questions because I know them all, but the problem is I don't think most of you guys have played Barry O's enough, so you might not know all the secret tricks in there. I got to give you one to cover up the stern one. Are you going to light it on fire before the end of the night? Is that what I can get out of you? Let's. Who else has an American Pinball game? Let's just talk about that. Nobody. Or I got one. Legends of Valhalla was released on a code name. Anybody know what the code name was from Legends of Valhalla?
I really am your biggest fan, huh?
Maybe.
Was it Vikings?
Yeah, there's a Vikings game, but no.
But was the code name?
No, not Vikings. I think you know it.
I'm not sure I do.
You should, if anybody.
If I hear it, I'll go, oh yeah. But,
Okay. Nobody got that one. Let's see.
What was it?
Rampage. It was in the center of the playfield. It says Rampage, and we put it on the game Rampage and it was shipped out. So the first 30 games were shipped out with the term name Rampage, and that's a little trick also for American games. If you ever get the first 30 of the games, you'll get the special tags that say the code name on the shipping. So Rampage, Ice Cream, Big Bang Bar. That was the funny thing. The code name for Barry was BBB, 3 Bs. And I think it kind of transcended the market a little bit because some people caught that there was a code name BBB and everybody was like, oh, they're remaking Big Bang Bar. Or somebody is. Who's doing it? You know, and then all of a sudden Barry Ousler's, and then all of a sudden, now what happened to Big Bang Bar? I don't know. And then nothing transpired. No, we use code names. The next one is Killer Rabbit. You know, so we have fun like that. Oh yeah, I can ask a general question. You got one?
That's my wife, guys.
Let's see.
Or maybe something that inspired something.
Okay.
Something related.
Before Phil took over the Pinfest, who ran Pinfest? Yeah, okay, so I got a bunch of people. You guys can all grab a flyer from the front of the desk. Let's see, what else do we got? Okay, he can't answer this, and I'm talking to Phil. Phil's game. So he's got the shirt. All right, I got let's see, what else?
Which city is the American Pinball factory in?
Okay, which city is the American Pinball factory in?
New York.
No.
Chicago.
Chicago. Well, we'll give you kind of that, but anybody else have an idea?
What was it?
Where is the American Pinball factory? Close.
Near.
Near. Yeah.
10 minutes.
I'll give you this one. It's actually Palatine, Illinois. How many years is Pinball Expo this year?
40.
Okay, very good. Did I have 4 people? 1, 2. Oh, 3, 4. Okay. Those 4 people, raise your hand. You just said that. I got 2, 3, and Mike, we'll give you that. We'll give you the extra stickers that we have from Lunchbox Gate. I'll tell you that real quick. Dealt with a Lunchbox company. They shipped me the prototypes for the Lunchbox. We based it all off of that. We had the decals all made up for the Lunchboxes. Then they shipped us the production ones, and they changed the size in production and literally said, oh, no, that's what you ordered. And find out they changed the size but kept the same product number. They never changed it in the long term. So then all of a sudden I had all these lunchboxes of the wrong size, and I don't have any decals that are going to fit them. So I now have all these decals to give away to people at shows. So the top 4, thank you for winning those. And but that's just another problem that I had with lunchboxes. So people are like, where are the lunchboxes? Gotta wait. I don't have the decals. And then when I got the decals, the manufacturer's like, oh, you got your first lunchboxes, but now there's a delay on the next shipment of lunchboxes. And I said, you better not change the size. And that's the one thing that did change was they no longer made the lunchbox without the thermos. They all had thermoses, so then we made sure that everybody got a thermos. So the signatures, which these are the decals for the signatures lunchbox, that's what you're going to get. They don't fit the standard lunchbox, so you don't get the signature. But the decal for the signature thermos was different too. So there's some cool stuff about that for people who have them. We do have signature Galactic Tank Forces in stock, so those who ever want to talk about that, come up and talk to me, but we have other games. Any other questions, guys? If not, thank you very much for sitting through this. I hope I wasn't too boring. Hope I kept it fun. Thank you. And again, thanks to Phil for putting on a great show. And I'm going to be here, so if you guys want to talk outside, I know you and I are going to talk about your Galactic. And if there's any other questions, feel free. I'm going to be here until tomorrow afternoon. So it'd be great to talk to you guys. Or play some games. You want to play a couple games of American games? Maybe you'll beat me, maybe not.
Great, thank you very much, David. And thank you everyone for coming. enjoy the rest of the show. And there's another seminar in here in 20 minutes all about virtual games, I believe. So come along for that as well.